Seahawks Today by Chat Sports coming up in just a few moments. But before we get to today's show, I want to make sure you're a subscriber to Seahawks Today. Our channel is putting out content each and every day on your favorite team. And the easiest way to join the party is by going to youtube.com/Seahawks TV or hitting that red sub button below. And make sure those notifications are on as well to see the latest videos. Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. On today's show, we're talking about the team's biggest needs in 2022, and this comes on the heels of the news today that Bobby Wagner will be staying within the division as he heads to the Los Angeles Rams. The Seahawks cut him not too long ago, and now what are they going to do about replacing him? Also replacing Russell Wilson. We'll dive into all those details when it comes into finding guys through the draft or through trades or free agency right now here on today's show. Need number one. Let's start with the obvious, the quarterback position. The Seahawks trying to replace Russell Wilson after trading him to the Denver Broncos. They did bring Drew Lock in exchange in the trade, but nobody really sees that as a long-term solution. In fact, as of right now, it's really unclear what the Seahawks' direction is at quarterback under head coach Pete Carroll and GM John Snyder. We really don't know what this team is going to do, whether they're going to make a trade for a veteran quarterback or if they're going to go ahead and ride things out with Drew Lock or plan to draft a quarterback. We don't exactly know what direction the Seahawks are going to go at this point in time. So let's look at all the possibilities. Let's start out with the draft candidates for the Seahawks at the quarterback position. The number one quarterback on most people's boards is Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh. Now, it's questionable if he'll be there for the Seahawks at pick 9. It might require them trading up if they want to get Kenny Pickett in this draft. Malik Willis could potentially be available for them at 9 as well, the quarterback out of Liberty. Well, Matt Corral out of Mississippi, he may have been the number one quarterback prior to the injury he suffered in the Sugar Bowl, is certainly a name to keep an eye on. And then, if you don't want to use that first-round pick at a quarterback, the Seahawks may be able to, in the second round, pick up Desmond Ridder, the quarterback out of Cincinnati. Those seem like the four options most likely if the Seahawks want to turn to the draft in finding a quarterback that way. Now, let's go ahead and look at these top two rookie quarterbacks and their numbers, Pickett and Malik Willis. As you can see, Pickett's numbers much better than Malik Willis's. The expectation wherever Pickett goes compared to Willis is that Pickett should be able to start day one, coming off a 42-touchdown year and only 7 interceptions. Malik Willis might take some more time, especially going to a small school like Liberty to adapt to the National Football League, but nonetheless, this guy has a lot of talent. So what do you guys think? If the Seahawks do go the route of picking a rookie quarterback, between these top two quarterbacks, who do you like better? Is it Kenny Pickett? Is it Malik Willis? Pick a rookie quarterback. Type KP for Kenny Pickett. Type MW for Malik Willis. Couple of options for the Seahawks when it comes to trades. One of those is Baker Mayfield. We've talked about that a lot, and the value for Baker Mayfield tends to go down by the day, it seems, and who knows, he could be a free agent here pretty soon anyway. Gardner Minshew, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, the backup behind Jalen Hurts, better than I think most people realize. You look at the numbers on Gardner Minshew here, folks. In his career, a 41-12 career touchdown to interception ratio. He was a 2-year starter in Jacksonville, former 6th-round pick. He's had a pretty good career with all things considered at this point. I think he's better than what folks may realize of Gardner Minshew in the time that he spent in the National Football League. Could be a decent bargain buy, but not necessarily a long-term solution with Gardner Minshew. The other name, Jimmy Garoppolo, and this one might be more of a reach because you're talking about a trade within the division, and Jimmy Garoppolo is going to cost a lot of money. Garoppolo and Mayfield both coming off of injuries as well, along with high payrolls, so something to consider there when it comes to the trade options at the quarterback position for Seattle. The free agent market starting to get a little thin when it comes to those options. Cam Newton's still available, as well as Ryan Fitzpatrick there, who spent last season with Washington, is still out there. And Pete Carroll has made it known that Geno Smith is somebody he would like to keep in mind to bring back to Seattle. So maybe you bring him back in a system that he already knows there. So there is our first need, the quarterback position. The second is the offensive line, in particular the offensive tackle position. And let's go ahead and look at those for the Seahawks. I got to tell you, when it comes to this team, I think that it's very likely that offensive tackle is going to be addressed in the first round of the draft for the Seahawks, that this team isn't going to be waiting around for this position. And some names that come to mind, Charles Cross, we've talked about him a lot, the left tackle out of Mississippi State. Evan Neal from Alabama. Now, we haven't spent much time talking about him. If he is still available when the Seahawks pick at 9, look at this, the scouting report on Neal here. Pro Football Focus calls him a true behemoth. Only allowed 2 sacks last year. And I kid you not, this is the real scouting report. These aren't my words. Known as one of the most imposing specimens ever to grace this earth. You have my attention with Evan Neal there. Another name for you, Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. Also a possibility for the Seahawks there. Now, one more for you. The trade market for the offensive tackle spots. Titus Howard and Laremy Tunsil from the Houston Texans, although the Texans have indicated that they plan to keep Tunsil for now, but they have shopped him in the past. Also, DJ Humphries, another option as well from Arizona. And one more for you. Here is the free agent options currently sitting out right now. Nate Solder is out there. He has spent this past season with the New York Football Giants. Dwayne Brown, who played for the Seahawks last year, still an option as well. And Eric Fisher, the former Pro Bowler who was with the Indianapolis Colts after a very good run in Kansas City, also an option as well. He spent most of his time playing right tackle, though, although he was drafted as a left tackle. Seahawks Today is bringing you content each and every day, including our 7-round mock draft video. And it was really cool because we involved trades in our mock draft. So make sure to check that out whenever you get a chance. All of our videos available. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. Now, more positions to talk about here. The edge rusher, the defensive line spots for the Seahawks here. When you look at this, I think that the draft or a trade is the best option for an edge rusher for the Seahawks at this point. Remember, when you factor in the salary that the Seahawks have to spend when it comes to the draft, this team has just about $10 million in cap space to spend of remaining players. That's not a whole lot. So I think your best move, if you're going to go get an edge, is in the draft or through trades. Here's the draft options for the Seahawks here. It starts for me with Trayvon Walker as a possibility there from Georgia. He was outstanding, helping lead the Dogs to a national title this year. Jermaine Johnson II out of Florida State, also an option as well. And David Ajabo from Michigan. He was going to be a first-round pick, I think, before he suffered that injury leading up to the draft. This guy had all the intangibles, but he might have to sit out potentially all of next year recovering from this injury that he's dealing with. But the raw skills are there, just a matter of how he's going to recover from that injury. So somebody to keep in mind there for those draft positions. Let's go ahead and talk about trade options now. Bradley Chubb, the Broncos are shopping. The Seahawks already did some business with the Broncos. And Chubb, he's a 2020 Pro Bowler. He played in 7 games last year after ankle surgery. The Broncos did pick up his 5th-year option at $12.72 million, all fully guaranteed money. And that could be somebody the Seahawks look at with potentially giving up maybe a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick in that range to get a trade done there. So that's one idea with Bradley Chubb. So got to ask you guys our poll question for you. We want you to weigh in. What do you think? Bradley Chubb, you like the idea of him coming in and being an edge rusher for the Seahawks? Tell us in the comments. Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Do you want to see Bradley Chubb in Seattle? Let us know. Couple more options for you when it comes to trades. At that edge spot, Daniel Hunter from the Vikings is a popular name. Christian Wilkins, also a possibility as well from the Miami Dolphins for this team there. Now, when it comes to free agent options, a familiar name for Seahawk fans, Jadeveon Clowney is still available at this point. He spent last year with the Cleveland Browns. Melvin Ingram from the Kansas City Chiefs is certainly possible as well. He joined that team and really elevated that defense to another level when he was traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then Carl Nassib from the Las Vegas Raiders is a possibility as well when it comes to those edge spots as free agents. Couple more needs for you. Let's move on and talk about inside linebacker. Replacing Bobby Wagner. He's now a member of the LA Rams. What do you do about replacing one of the all-time greats in Seattle? Well, let's start with the draft options here for the Seahawks. Devin Lloyd out of Utah is a name that is getting a lot of love. He could be somebody to watch for, and will be interesting to see what spot he lands, but that's a possibility. Dean from Georgia is one option as well, and Christian Harris from Alabama is a name that has been linked to the Seahawks, and a guy that is so elusive could be a game-changing player there for the Seahawks if they're able to draft him. Trade options, going back to the well in Minnesota, Eric Kendricks is a possibility. I think you also have Deion Jones in Atlanta. And Pittsburgh right now, we already know this, is actively shopping Devin Bush. So there's a possibility there with those three. Devin Bush might be the most likely to be on the move from the Steelers. Free agent options for inside linebacker. Nick Kwiatkowski is one name, spent last year with the Las Vegas Raiders. John Bostic from Washington, and Anthony Barr, who spent last year with Minnesota. It looks unlikely he will come back to the Minnesota Vikings there. Now, with all that being said, before we get to our final need, I got to know, guys, what do you think are the biggest needs for the Seahawks? What is it? We want to hear it. Is there something we're missing here at this point? Does one outweigh another? Tell us in the comments what you think the Seahawks need to get in this upcoming draft and the remainder of NFL free agency throughout this offseason. The last position on our list is the cornerback spot. Now, as a man of principle, I have always looked at the cornerback spot as something that you can work around of some sorts. And here's what I mean by that. When you have the cornerback position, safeties can cover for a lot of the mistakes from that cornerback spot. And if you have an effective pass rush, then it doesn't require as much from the cornerback spots. And not to mention, corners can be very expensive and wear out of their prime very quickly there. So with that being said, I look at corner. It's a need for this Seahawks team, but it's not as big as these others that we just mentioned there. Here is the Seahawks secondary as of right now. Really good 1-2 punch when it comes to those safety spots with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. But the cornerback spots with Trey Brown and Sidney Jones, those guys need some more help. You need another true starting corner. They did a good job finding Artie Burns and Justin Coleman this offseason and not spending a whole lot of those guys to be nickel corners. But I think you need another starting true number one or number two corner. And we have some more options for you. Let's look at the draft market. Sauce Gardner is a name we've talked about a lot on this channel out of Cincinnati. Very good player. Derek Stingley Jr. from LSU, also another option. And then Trent McDuffie from Washington, also a possibility to stay home in the state of Washington there for the Seahawks. Trade options. The Seahawks, here's what they could do. They could go for James Bradbury from the New York Football Giants. That's a possibility. Also, Miami could potentially be shopping Noah, and New Orleans could be shopping Bradley Roby as well. Free agents. Here are the free agent options for the Seahawks. Still on the market right now. Stephon Gilmore is a possibility, but he would cost a lot of money. He's not going to be cheap. Joe Hayden, who spent this past year with Pittsburgh, another sneaky good corner, and Kyle Fuller at Denver could be an option as well for the Seahawks. So there you have it. That is all of our team needs for the Seattle Seahawks in every possibility when it comes to the draft, trades, free agency of what they can do to try to get this roster to step up a little bit from where they're at right now. $10 million to spend, not much, but certainly doable.